Some people aren't afraid of failing. They're afraid of what happens when things actually start working. When effort finally turns into results. When a quiet life is replaced by attention. When expectations appear where there were none before. From the outside, it looks like hesitation, like doubt, like not being ready yet. But underneath, it's something else. Success doesn't just change outcomes. It changes how you're seen, what's expected of you, who you're allowed to be. And for some people, that feels more dangerous than staying exactly where they are. That fear usually doesn't show up as panic or resistance. It shows up quietly, as a tension between what someone wants and what they keep avoiding. You can see it in people who are capable, thoughtful, even ambitious. They know they could do more. They've imagined a different life more than once. And yet, whenever that life feels close, something inside them pulls back. They tell themselves they need more time, more preparation, more certainty. They stay busy, but somehow never cross the line where things actually change. It's not because they don't want growth. It's because growth feels like losing something familiar. The current version of their life may feel small, frustrating, even disappointing, but it's predictable. It's safe. It doesn't ask new questions of them. Success does. Because success doesn't just offer rewards. It demands a new identity, new expectations, new attention, new pressure. And deep down, the question isn't, can I succeed? It's, who will I have to become if I do? There was a moment when everything was lined up. The timing was right. The opportunity matched what he had wanted for years. Other people could see it clearly. This was his step forward. He had prepared for it longer than he admitted, thought about it at night, imagined how his life might look afterward. And then, right before it mattered, something shifted. He started delaying small decisions, overthinking details that had never bothered him before, finding flaws that suddenly felt impossible to ignore. He missed a deadline that could have been easily met, said the wrong thing in a conversation that mattered, chose the safer option when the real one was already within reach. Nothing dramatic happened. No collapse. No obvious failure. The opportunity didn't disappear in a single moment. It just quietly moved on. Later, he told himself it wasn't the right time, that it probably wouldn't have worked anyway, that maybe he didn't really want it after all. But what stayed wasn't relief. It was a dull, familiar feeling. The sense that he had stepped back at the exact moment he was supposed to step forward. This kind of moment isn't rare. It shows up in different forms, in different lives, but the pattern is almost always the same. People don't usually sabotage themselves at the beginning. They do it when progress becomes visible, when the distance between who they are and who they could become starts to shrink. That's when hesitation appears, not as fear, but as logic, as being realistic, as suddenly caring a lot about risks that never mattered before. From the outside, it looks like caution. From the inside, it feels like control. But what's really happening is simpler than it seems. Crossing into success means crossing a psychological border. Once you step over it, there's no going back to being unseen. No hiding behind potential. No comfort in being almost there. You're no longer preparing. You're responsible. And responsibility changes how people treat you, how they judge you, how they talk about you when you're not in the room. For a mind that values stability, that shift can feel like a threat, even if the outcome is something it has wanted for years. That's why people pause right at the edge, not because they doubt their ability, but because they sense what success will cost them internally. What really scares people is what comes after success, not the work to get there. The attention, the expectations, the questions that follow. One mistake doesn't feel dangerous. A life of constant visibility does. One project doesn't feel risky. A reputation to uphold feels like a trap. Some start to imagine the worst. Colleagues turning against them. Friends resenting what they've achieved. family disappointed that they've changed. Even internally, a voice whispers, "Are you really ready to be this person?" And sometimes the answer comes in action before words. Hesitation, distraction, delay. It shows in small ways, leaving opportunities unclaimed, undermining one's own work, choosing comfort over potential. It isn't laziness. It isn't lack of ambition. It's self-preservation. Because deep down, the mind perceives success as a dangerous shift, a change to the identity that has always felt safe. And even if the person is capable, even if they are ready objectively, they often hold back, not because they don't want to grow, but because they are protecting the part of themselves that they already know. There's another way to look at it, though. Some people feel the same fear, the same tension between wanting and avoiding, but they act differently. Not with dramatic courage, not by forcing themselves into discomfort. They take small steps, carefully, slowly. They test the waters instead of diving in. They allow themselves to feel uneasy without letting it stop them. They acknowledge the fear, but they don't let it control every choice. The results aren't instant or perfect. There's still hesitation, still doubt, but progress happens. The opportunity isn't lost. The growth continues. And slowly, the mind learns that the new reality, even if uncomfortable, is survivable. This contrast shows that fear doesn't have to be a stop sign. It can be a signal. A warning, yes, but not a barrier. It's a sign that your boundaries are expanding, and that change is real. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward isn't ability, it's how you respond to that signal. And in the end, the quiet truth is simple. People often think they fear failure. But more often, they fear losing the version of themselves they've always known. The familiar self, flawed, limited, safe, feels predictable. Success demands leaving it behind. It asks for new roles, new attention, new responsibilities. The fear isn't about being capable. It's about stepping into an identity that feels larger than what they've built before. And that tension, that inner push and pull, isn't weakness. It's a sign of growth waiting to happen. Some will freeze. Some will retreat. Others will take the small, deliberate steps that move them forward. Either way, the message is the same. Your mind sees the edge of change, and it reacts. The question is not whether you can succeed. It's whether you're willing to navigate what comes after. And sometimes, simply noticing that fear, without fighting it, without rushing it, is the first step towards stepping forward all.